Hello, and thanks for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you why I don't think you should panic over HR127, a trio of bad gun bills passed by the Virginia Senate, and how Iowa might get a constitutional right to bear arms, plus lots more. But before I get started, I want to tell you about the cruelty-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, zero-trans fat night vision products offered to you by our friends at TNVC.com. Just like Mom used to make. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. A couple of weeks ago, I reported to you about HR127 introduced by Sheila Jackson Lee. We knew it was going to be bad, but now the full text has been published and all of Guntube has exploded talking about it. Folks are absolutely losing their minds over this, but I honestly don't think it's worth getting all that worked up over. Don't get me wrong, it is indeed every bit as awful as we expected, but believe it or not, that's probably going to work in our favor. If you were like, huh, just now, sit tight and let me unpack. HR127 creates a federal firearms licensing and registration system and makes it illegal to possess an unregistered firearm or to have a gun without a license or insurance. To get a license, you have to pay an $800 fee, complete 24 hours of training, and submit to a psychological evaluation. Yeah, that's right. This woman wants you to have to submit to a psych eval.
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
Maybe there ought to be a psych eval and intelligence test before running for political office. After you get your gun license, you'll need to renew it every year for the first 5 years, then every 3 years while paying that same $800 fee. And finally, HR127 would also ban 50s. It would be illegal to have any 50 caliber or larger ammunition. So 50 AE, 50 GI, and 50 Beowulf would all be illegal, but 408 Shaytak, 416 Barrett, and 458 Lot would still be legal, because reasons. Presumably, 50 caliber muzzle loading bullets would be allowed because that's not actually ammunition, but who knows with these people? So yes, this bill is absolutely terrible, but that may just be its Achilles heel. See, I think it's just too draconian to have any realistic chance of passing. Sheila Jackson Lee is nuttier than a squirrel turd, and her only real function is to shift the Overton window. Her bills are never successful. No, seriously, to the best of my knowledge, not one single bill she has sponsored has ever become a law. Every year, she introduces a slew of wacky bills, and most never make it out of committee. They only exist to make other bills look less insane by comparison. Even in the unlikely event HR127 actually passed both houses, it would get a beating in the courts so brutal it would make Sergeant Donnie Donowitz look like Gandhi. I'm not a lawyer because my soul belongs to Jesus, but I'm confident there would be an immediate injunction against the bill, and when it eventually saw its day in court, it would get absolutely smashed. DC versus Heller established the right to bear arms is an individual right, and while courts might give some latitude to the government to restrict that right to a relatively minor degree, there is simply no way they would tolerate something this extreme. $800 per year is just ludicrous. So no, I don't think this bill is going anywhere. And that's not to say that we should ignore it, though. We absolutely should sign petitions and call Congress critters and show up in their offices. But if you're the kind of dude who sends $20 to the SAF, GOA, or FPC once a year and can only be bothered to write or call a politician once per election cycle, this isn't your time. We're going to need that half-hearted effort for the wave of other more reasonable bills which are coming. But if you're the kind of 2A pipe hitter who doesn't get all tuckered out making one phone call, by all means, fire for effect on this one. Go ahead and call those Congress critters at 202-224-3121 and tell them this bill is absolutely nuts. Just stay focused because we're going to see a flood of gun control legislation which has a far better chance of passing. The control freaks are on a roll in Virginia. Advocates for a state monopoly on force managed to cram 3 authoritarian bills through the House. I reported on HB 2276 earlier, which is intended to ban spooky boys. If it passes the Senate and gets signed into law, it would ban the home manufacture of firearms altogether and ambiguously ban lumps of metal or plastic that could conceivably one day become a gun. HB 1909 would let school boards ban guns on school property, but of course it includes an exemption for the Praetorian Guard and retired cops. Aside from the fundamentally un-American idea that some animals are more equal than others, defenseless victim zones are just plain stupid. Now I know, the mega Karen proponents of this sewage are quick to throw up the straw man. What? You want to let kids carry guns? No, you absolute potato, we don't. We just want to stop dangling defenseless children in front of predators like bait. I mean, if we grant the idea that guns should be kept out of certain places just for the sake of argument, it's simply impossible to accomplish that by policy alone. If you want to keep good people with guns out of a place, you pretty much just tell them not to bring guns in, and that's the end of it. But if you want to keep bad people with guns out, you have to set up a secure perimeter with positive entry control and search every single person and parcel that enters. Even then, you can never be 100% accurate. The number of weapons that get past TSA security theater is absolutely staggering. Hell, even prisons can't keep all guns out, and they're allowed to do cavity searches. Pretty sure you don't want Paul Blart doing a cavity search on your kid in elementary school. But most defenseless victim zones don't even make a passing attempt at perimeter security, entry control, or competently searching persons and bags. So all they have really accomplished is to advertise a target-rich environment for bad actors. On the other hand, I don't know of a single shooting which took place on a campus where responsible adults are allowed to be armed. HB 2128 increases the delay period on background checks from 3 days to 5 days. When you buy a gun, the dealer calls the Department of State Police and they perform a background check immediately. In most cases, the dealer is told either proceed or denied while they're still on the phone, but in some cases the response is delayed. This can be a result of a criminal who has a similar name or other clerical issues, but by federal law, the sale is allowed to proceed after 3 days if the agency performing the check can't find any reason to deny the sale. The new law would increase the time to 5 business days. When you account for holidays, that could be 8 days or more. Now maybe that sounds like a minor inconvenience to you. Like, boo-hoo, you have to wait a whole week to play with your new Nova Model 757. But you might think it's more than a little inconvenient when your tweaker X walks through a restraining order and you need a gun right now. All 3 of these bills are headed to the Virginia Senate, so please pause this video and call the Virginia Senate right now at 833-617-1821 and ask to speak with one of their wide selection of politicians. Tell them to vote against HB 2276, HB 1909, and HB 2128. Just because you don't live in Virginia, don't let that stop you. Virginians need your help. No reason the politicrators shouldn't hear your opinion too. It's not all bad news out there, friends. Voters in the Hawkeye State will have the opportunity to vote on a constitutional amendment protecting their right to bear arms. Iowa Senate Joint Resolution 7 was passed 29-18 in the Senate and 58-41 in the House. If voters approve the amendment in the 2022 election, the Iowa Constitution will get this language. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The sovereign state of Iowa affirms and recognizes this right to be a fundamental individual right. Any and all restrictions of this right shall be subject to strict scrutiny.
So say we all.
That means courts will be required to view any laws which touch on gun rights in the same manner as they would other individual rights, like the right to worship as you please. Opponents argue this constitutional amendment could threaten future gun control laws in Iowa. That's the whole point, man. In fact, it could threaten existing gun control laws too. What it doesn't do is nullify all gun laws. As authoritarians are fond of pointing out, rights are never unlimited. They will predictably cite the old fire in a theater line as an example of how the government is allowed to regulate speech. Except what they're missing is that the government can't make you wear a gag to prevent you from shouting in a crowded theater. And it isn't that it is never allowed to shout fire. You are not just allowed to shout fire, but you have a duty to do so if there is, a fire. No, the real core of this issue is that you are free to do as you will, but if you say something that is both untrue and causes harm, you are criminally and civilly liable for that harm. Likewise, it is and it should be illegal to cause someone harm with a gun, or even to act in a negligent manner which is likely to cause harm, like shooting in the air inside a city. If you live in Iowa, be sure to register to vote and get out there and cast a vote on this constitutional amendment next year.
Industry news.
Primary Arms is releasing 8 new optics products this year. The 2 that really stand out to me are both micro prism sights. One is a 1-power updated version of the Cyclops. It looks to be more compact and has added shake awake. Like the earlier version of the Cyclops, it is a 1x etched reticle prism sight, which makes it an ideal choice for those with astigmatism, and the etched reticle is still usable without illumination in case your batteries die or the EMP from the apocalypse. The only complaint I had about the original Cyclops was that it didn't have shake awake, and the new SLX 1X micro prism adds that feature. You can just set it and forget it, and it will auto-magically turn itself on when you pick it up. They didn't provide any details about the 3X micro prism, but I think it's safe to assume it'll be similar to the 1X, but with 3-power magnification and a bullet drop compensating ACSS reticle. The dimensions appear to be close to the other SLX, but slightly longer, which would make it a very compact sight suitable for a variety of roles, and I am super stoked about it. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. If you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com give you night vision with that cool, refreshing, never bitter taste that goes down smooth, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. And if you want to support us more directly, you can buy fly shirts like this one in our Teespring store. Or if you'd like to try your luck and see if you can win your choice of rad shirt from our Teespring store, post a comment containing the phrase, "They mostly come out at night," mostly, in the YouTube comments, and I will arbitrarily and unilaterally choose the best one. I love you.